is first the Gemara opens up with the story regarding Yecheskel. We said there was this rabbi, Hananya ben Cheskia. We mentioned our Mishnah that this was the rabbi Hananya ben Cheskia. He was behind Megillah Ta'anit. He was behind the scroll that listed the dates of that the Jewish community celebrated, in addition to the regular holidays of Pesach, Sukkot, Shavuot, which were biblical holidays. There were many rabbinic holidays that were added, and the only pretty much the ones that we have left from those rabbinic holidays is Purim and Hanukkah. Which, as we all know, the Purim and Hanukkah, here we are on the day of Purim, which we celebrated an amazing miracle that happened to the Jewish people. There were many, many other miracles that happened to the Jewish people that they made into holidays. But as you know, once the destruction of the temple happened, a lot of those days were no longer celebrated. But Purim and Hanukkah remain, and they're here. And the Gemara says something else about this great rabbi, and we also said that they made 18 enactments in the attic when they went upstairs to this rabbi's house. And we said, what was the rabbi doing? What's this unusual to say? What was it? You know, someone who was sick, you might visit. What was he doing there in the attic that all the rabbis came? So the Gemara now will give a little backdrop to context to that. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav about another great, a great contribution that he was doing. We are on 13b, 13b3. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Baram, in truth, Zechariah Ram Zachor Oto Ha'isha Latov. That man is to be remembered favorably. And it's very interesting. Here we are on the holiday of Purim, Mr. Haber and Emmanuel, and we have in the Megillah, we have the man Charvona, and we say V'gam Charvona Zachor Latov. We remember Charvona also very favorably. What was the story of Charvona in the Megillah? The story was that Haman had built a tree, a tremendous tree. And he built this tree with the mindset to hang Mordechai on that tree. That's why he built that tree. And what happened after he built that tree? The tree, he was waiting to use that tree for Mordechai. And then when Hashem made the miracle that Achashverosh wants to kill Haman, Achashverosh is very angry with Haman. If you recall, Esther goes to the king and pleads to the king, to Achashverosh, on behalf of the Jewish people. And the king, she says, myself, my people are being, are being so to speak, having a decree against us to get killed, and the enemy who's behind this decree has no interest in the well-being of the country. She makes a pitch to Achashverosh, and what does Achashverosh say? Who is this man? Good morning, Simon. Who is this man who's behind this decree? And Esther points to Haman. She says, Haman is the man behind this decree. And Achashverosh gets very angry. And the king goes out. And the king he leaves the party because of his anger at Haman. He goes out to the garden And Esther goes back into Esther, and Haman goes over to Esther, trying to plead to Esther for his life. The king comes back while Haman is beseeching Esther to save his life. The king comes back from the garden, and Haman is falling on the couch that Esther is on. And the rabbis say, it says he's falling. The rabbis say that the pasuk, what happened was a malach, an angel came and pushed him onto the couch. It should, it said the lashon of nofel. Nofel means he's continuously falling. The Torah says that means he wanted to get up, and the angel did not let him get up. So the king said, "What? I'm here in the house, and you're gonna take my wife in front of me?" And then at that moment, they covered up the face of Haman, and Charvona gets up, and he's one of the people that works for the king, and he says, there is a tree that's 50 amot tall. 50 amot could be up to 100 feet. Imagine how high Haman built the tree. 100 feet high. Tree that he wanted to display Mordechai, to hang him so people could see him. The higher he is, the further you could see him. And he says, that tree is in the house of Haman. And the king says, so hang Haman on that tree. And that's the Charvona that we say, Gam Charvona Zachor Latov. We remember Charvona at that moment because, the fact that he advised the king to hang Haman on that tree at that moment, who knows if Haman would have been able to talk himself out of it. Who knows if any members of Haman's family would come or other members of the government would come to try to plead on behalf of Haman. But at that time, at that place, he says, Charvona says, here's the tree, and they hung Haman on that tree. So with that language, with that backdrop of, we say Zachor Latov, we remember Charvona Zachor Latov. So our Gemara here in Masechta Shabbat on 13b says about this rabbi, Hananya ben Cheskia. Good morning, Ralph.
Morning, Rabbi.
We're at 13b3. The Hananya ben Cheskia, Zocho Oto Isha Latov. You should remember him for good. Like you say, Zecher Tzadik Lebracha. So you say, Hananya Zochor Oto Isha Latov, Hananya ben Cheskia Shmo. His name is Hananya ben Cheskia. She'umalehu, if he would not, without him, Nignaz Sefer Yecheskel. The holy Sefer Yecheskel, one of the great prophets, who wrote a holy Sefer called Yecheskel, his Sefer would have been hidden. We would have not been able, if I want to look at a Sefer Yecheskel, I go to the shelf, I see a Sefer Yecheskel, right, Mr. Haber? I can take out Yecheskel from the shelf. But without this person, Yecheskel would have been hidden, would have been something that you would not have been able to learn. We would not publicize the Sefer. We would have to hide it. Why? Because Shahayu Dvarav Sotrin Divrei Torah. The words of Yecheskel. Yecheskel is a Navi, is a prophet. He lived after the Torah was given. And he lived later on. He was by the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash time period. There are many psukim that look on the surface as if they're contradicting the Torah itself. For example, the Torah says, Nevela, a dead animal. Let's say you have a cow. When a cow inherently is a kosher animal. If you slaughter the cow, properly, right, right, Simon? You can go ahead and eat the cow. You slaughter it. You have to soak the animal, soak the in water. Our custom, we soak it for 30 minutes. Then we have to salt it for an hour, soak in salt for an hour, draw out the blood, wash the meat afterwards, and you can eat that animal. What happens if the animal was not slaughtered properly? You didn't slaughter the animal, you can't eat it. The animal dies without slaughtering. What's the law, Ralph? You can't eat that animal. That's called a nevela. That's called a dead carcass. There's also something called a treifa. What's a treifa? A treifa is an animal that has some sort of defect. Let's say the animal ate a nail, and that nail punctured its lung. And as a result of that, the animal's not going to live a year. So what's the law with that animal? You can't eat that animal. Even if you slaughtered the animal. But after you slaughtered the animal, subsequently you see that the animal has a hole in its lung, it's not kosher. It's a treifa. Because that animal would have died within a year. So the Torah says about those animals, you can't eat. You can't eat this dead carcass. You can't eat this animal that was slaughtered and it was a treifa that had that blemish that would have died within a year. You can't eat it. But the Torah's prohibition is to everybody. Kohanim, Leviim, Yisraelim, nobody, no Jew could eat those animals that's either a dead carcass or a treifa. However, in Sefer Yecheskel, it says, who can't eat the nevela and the treifa? The Kohanim. Very specific to Kohanim can't eat the nevela and the treifa. We know there are certain laws in the Torah that are specific to Kohanim. A Kohen cannot marry a divorcee. We have certain laws that are specific for a Kohen. But a specific prohibition that applies to a Kohen and not anybody else. But regarding this law of nevela and treifa, it's not specific for a Kohen. No Jew can eat this animal that died without slaughtering. But in Yecheskel, he mentions who can't eat it? The Kohen. So a person could come to make a mistake and think that it's only limited to the Kohen. That Yecheskel is saying something not like the Torah. The Torah says nobody can eat this dead carcass. And Sefer Yecheskel only says a Kohen can't eat it. So you might make a mistake and think that Yecheskel is saying something not like the Torah. It's not going with the Torah, and people will make a mistake. And there are other examples as well. For instance, there's a pasuk in Yecheskel that says, on the 7th day of the month of Nisan, which is next month, you have to bring a bull. Now, there is no pasuk in the Torah that says you have to bring this korban on the 7th day of Nisan. And therefore, people will make a mistake. He's making up his own. It looks like he's not going with the Torah. The Torah does not indicate such a law. It sounds like he's creating his own law. Now, the people, everybody knew, the rabbis, of course, knew that the words of Yecheskel are true. But they're only true to the person who understands them. But if you don't understand what he means, you could come to make a mistake. And in order for people not to make a mistake, they were going to be willing to hide the Sefer Yecheskel. However, this rabbi, so to speak, made it one of his life's missions, that he's going to go ahead and focus his energies on explaining Sefer Yecheskel in a way that it doesn't appear contradictory to the Torah. And therefore, we will not have to hide it. How do you like that, Ralph? And therefore, we have the Sefer Yecheskel. And what does it say about him? Fascinating. Ma'asa. What did he do to help the situation? Helulo shlosh meyod garve shemen. They brought him 300 jars of oil. Some say it's an exaggeration, using the number 300 as like a nice number, like batting a million, a million, he's worth $1 million or whatever the expressions are. It's an expression 300, meaning it's a tremendous amount of wine of oil they brought. As you know, in those days, oil, even today, oil is a fuel. You want your lights, you need oil. Today we have electricity, but the oil that they used for that he needed to stay up day and night to work on the project, and the oil he needed for his foods, they brought him 300 jars of oil. V'yashav ba'aliyah v'darshan, and he went up, so to speak, and he locked himself, so to speak. He focused. He went up to the attic, and he would explain the psukim that look like they're contradicting each other, and by using his time and focusing his time, he was able to explain how it's not a contradiction. For example, we mentioned that the pasuk says in Yechezkel that a kohen, it mentions the kohen cannot eat this dead carcass. It doesn't mean the kohen can't eat it, but non-kohanim can eat it. Rather, it's telling us, it's saying the following: even a kohen can't eat it. Of course, a non-kohen can't eat a animal that was not properly slaughtered. But even if you're a kohen, you might have thought that the kohen might be an allowance for the kohen to eat this. Not why. Oh, so Simon says, Rabbi, what do you mean? Isn't he the kohen is is higher than the Yisrael, Kohanim, Leviim, Yisraelim. He gets the first aliyah. So what? Right. Right. So Simon says, why do you need him to tell us the kohen can't eat it? If the average guy can't eat it, certainly a kohen can't eat it. So the point is, that's what we needed the rabbi to teach us. Why? Because you might have thought there's a special law by a kohen when it comes to a bird. A bird that's brought as a sin offering, called a chatat ha'of, the sin offering of a bird. Now, the usually way we slaughter a bird is you slaughter the bird by the neck, right? If you want to, how do you do shchita today? If we're going to slaughter a bird today, they'll bring us a bird for we want to slaughter, we go ahead, we slaughter it from the front, from the neck, the front of by the front, right? By the neck. However, there's a special halacha when it comes to the sin offering of a bird. If someone, let's say, did a sin, and he did a sin unintentionally, whatever the case was, that they violated the Shabbat unintentionally, and he's bringing this bird, whatever the case might be, that renders that person brings a sin offering from the bird family, right? The sin offerings from the big animal family, the larger animals. But if you bring a bird, how does the kohen go ahead and slaughter, so to speak, that bird? He slaughters that bird, and the kohen eats from the chatat, right? The chatat is kodesh kadashim. It's holy holies. Holy holies are only eaten by the kohanim, not by a non-kohen, right? There's a korban called shlamim. There's a korban called todah, korban pesach, psachim. Those are kodesh kalim. Those are lighter holy animal, holy items. But then there's the holy. It's only eaten by kohanim. But how is it processed? What is the way what do you do to make this animal able to eat? It's not the normal slaughtering with a knife. Rather, the kohen uses his nail. He uses his nail, his fingernail, and he presses from the back of the neck of the bird. And he kills the bird. He hits the siman, whatever he needs to hit, whatever, he hits that part of the animal that will kill the animal But instead of coming from the front with a knife, he's coming from the back with his nail, fingernail, which would, if you would go ahead, that type of eating is not called slaughtering for a regular. If I want to go ahead and eat a bird, if I take my nail, by the way, there's some Kohanim, I think they keep their nail long, sharp, because they're looking forward any moment that the Mashiach should come. And they should be ready to do this mitzvah. So if they need to process this korban, so they keep their nail, their nail sharp. So since the Kohen is able to eat the sin offering of a bird, even not through the regular way of slaughtering, so we might have thought perhaps that he could go ahead and eat non-sacrifice food, non-holy food, regular ordinary bird. Maybe he does not require slaughtering for him. For us, meaning the Torah says you have to slaughter a bird. Well, you might have thought, but we also have on the books, so to speak, that the Torah says a Kohen could eat a sin offering from a bird, not slaughtered the normal way, without a slaughtering. Because that's not called slaughtering, using a nail and hitting it coming through the back of its neck. So you might have thought that since the Kohen is not subject to the normal slaughtering when it comes to him eating, he could, then Simon, we could use your kal v'chomer. If he does not require a normal slaughtering for holy foods, you might have thought that he does not need a slaughtering for what? For non-holy foods. Therefore comes the pasuk in Yecheskel to teach us that even the Kohen cannot eat an animal that was not slaughtered properly. Certainly, a non-Kohen can't eat an animal that was not slaughtered properly. A non-Kohen can't eat it. But a Kohen that we found the Torah was lenient regarding eating an animal that wasn't slaughtered properly, namely a sin offering of a bird where he does not need to slaughter it, rather he just has to use his nail to kill it. So therefore, that's why the Sefer Yecheskel is coming really to explain the Torah, to clarify, to make clear that you shouldn't mistake the law regarding Kohanim, and therefore he goes ahead and he says that law regarding the slaughtering of a non sacrifice or an animal requires a regular animal for Kohen does require slaughtering. So that is that point. Now we have about 10 minutes left to the class. I'm thinking maybe we should talk a little bit about Purim. Is that a good idea, Mr. For 10 minutes left to the class, right? First of all, we have many mitzvot today that we have to think about, make sure we do. Number one, we have the mitzvah of matonot v'evyonim, to give to the poor people. You have to give to two poor people. If you didn't do it yet, make sure you have to give it today. You could have given yesterday to someone to give on your behalf today, but it has to be given out today to the poor people. If you didn't give it yet, I think the shul has an envelope upstairs. You can, or yes, Rabbi Fari or Haron, to give to two poor people. That has to be given to two poor people today. Everyone is going to fulfill the mitzvah of shalach manot, giving two items to one person, minimum of one person, two nice items. Nice, I don't mean it has to be $1,000. I mean two portions of food, so to speak, to a friend that's brought down. It's modest that a man gives to a man and a lady gives to a lady. But when it comes to giving charity, a man could give to the lady or a lady to give to a man. And the reason for that would be because charity is not as much, it's not a social act. It's a more, you're giving the poor person. It's not like an act of something that, when I mean it's not social, I mean to say it's not like an act of bringing closeness, right? Mr. Haber, correct. When a person gives a poor person, it's not so much that I'm coming creating closer relationship with the person. Yes, you give the charity with a smile, but it's not that there's necessarily this, you're bringing yourselves closer to each other emotionally. However, when you give shalach manot, it's more of a shalach manot, it's more of a friendship when you're gifting a person who's not poor, and therefore it's appropriate a man to a man and a woman to a woman. And by the way, with that mindset, Megillah Sadorim says, what is the reason why? Why did the rabbis enact that we have to go ahead and give shalach manot today? And one of the reasons that's given is because Haman said to Achashverosh that the Jewish people are mefurad, they're separate from each other, they're not united. Therefore, you could get away with making a decree. Let's please make a decree against the Jewish people to destroy them, and they're not so strong because they're missing in unity. And to make up for that, we say, let's bring unity. When you give a gift, when you gift something to your friend, right? Oh, that's so nice of you. It brings people closer. So I always say we should use the opportunity of Purim. If there's somebody who you think feels that you rub them the wrong way, a fellow Jew, that you feel that the relationship is not where it needs to be at, you could use the Purim day as an opportunity to get yourselves closer. It's a great opportunity time. Just like Rosh Hashanah is the time you ask forgiveness. Purim, the time that you get close to giving a gift. So that's something that also we have the mitzvah of having a sudad today, having a meal, special festive meal. You're supposed to ideally wash before 1 o'clock because you want to have an appetite for Shabbat. You really should not make the meal late in the afternoon. Like most years, people have it in the afternoon. They have most of the meal by day, but they start it in the late afternoon and they have most of it by day. Today, you should have it start the meal before midday, before about 1 o'clock, before 1:05, so you can have a good appetite for what? For Shabbat. Just remember, we have the special mitzvah of Shabbat coming tonight. We have to honor the Shabbat. I think most people already did Machzit HaShekel. If you didn't do it yet, you should do Machzit HaShekel. So we got some of those, these are some of the mitzvot, and of course the reading of the Megillah, which people don't realize that the reading of the Megillah during the daytime of Purim is even stronger than the nighttime of Purim. We have to read it both. We're responsible to read it both at night and by day, and I saw the Chavetz Chaim writes, it serves as a reminder that the Jews cried out by day and by night. They fasted by day and night, they cried out by day and by night, and therefore we read the Megillah by day and by night. Another idea about Purim is that there's a pasuk that says that when Mordechai comes to Esther and he says to Esther, you need to go to the king on behalf of the Jewish people, because there's this decree of destruction against the Jewish people. And he says, good morning, Im hacharesh tacharishi be'et azot. If you're going to be quiet at this time, Revach v'hatzalah ya'amod la'Yehudim mokam acher. The Jews, have a great day, Jack. Happy Purim. The Jews are going to be saved. The word hatzalah, that maybe it comes from this pasuk. The Jews are going to be saved. But you will have lost out of being the one credited as the not middle man, as the middle woman, so to speak. I like that expression, Mr. Haber. As the one that it came through. Meaning this Harvey, the Malbim explains very beautifully. There are many shluchim lamakom. God has many agents, many messages to bring out. Good morning, Levi, to bring out Happy Purim, to bring out a salvation for the Jewish people. There's many messages, but the question is, are you going to go down in history of being that messenger or not? And if not, then you're going to, so to speak, perish. You're going to be held responsible for not doing what you could have done. You were given opportunity, and like Mordechai says, amazing words. Mi odea, who knows? Im le'it kazot higat l'malchut. Maybe you became queen because of this moment. Because Hashem gave you a power position. And everybody's given different positions, whatever your positions are, whether it's in financial positions, health, intellect, you're given gifts. Everyone's given different gifts. Question is, what do you do with that gift? Maybe the only reason why you were given that position or that wealth or that intellect, it was for this, to do something with it. And then if you don't do it, that means the whole thing that God gave you was a blessing for nothing. Now, Esther's story, in a sense, was not really, it's interesting. On surface, it's not really a blessing that she should go ahead and be married to this Achashverosh. Morning, Stanley. Happy Purim. It's not really, you too, Chag Sameach. It's not really, in a sense, a blessing to be queen. For her, it wasn't a blessing. Right, but at least it's a good point about Yosef, but at least he wasn't sinning. He wasn't forced to sin when he was viceroy of Egypt. However, she was forced to sin by being married to this Achashverosh, but Hashem has his plan, and Hashem had it for a certain purpose, that she should go ahead and save the Jewish people. Now, it's a good question. Why did Hashem want it to be brought out in such a way that a holy woman, a tzedeket, should have to be forced to be married to such a person, a non-Jew? That's a good question that needs explanation, because usually, that the salvation should have to be done through a sin, through an act which is that she has to go to sleep at night with this man was a terrible thing for her, but she remained righteous. Like, you know what? She accepted it. She accepted that was her lot. And Mordechai every day is walking by the courtyard of the king, trying to figure it out. Why is God doing it? We don't understand. But then the Monday morning quarterback, you figured it out afterwards. Hashem has his plan. Sometimes we don't get it. We don't see it now. But you don't see something now, but you know what? Sometimes people figure it out in their lifetime. That's a big picture. So, right, you don't see that big picture. Hashem has the whole picture in front of him. And but afterwards, now we understand. But Esther, she was doing whatever she can not to become the queen. For instance, Mordechai says, don't tell that you're Jewish. Why did Mordechai tell her, don't say you're Jewish? When they had the beauty pageant, and even subsequently when she became queen, don't say you're Jewish. So Rashi says, because if she says she's Jewish, and she says her ancestry, that she comes from the house of Shaul HaMelech, that makes her a better contestant, because she has royal blood. She comes from kingship, Jewish king. Okay, you're not from non-Jew, but you're from Jewish kingship. There's a royalty in your blood. That'll make you a better contestant. Don't say. And then every girl who went to the king, before she went to the king, every girl could make any request they want before they meet the queen. Any request they want. They want their best food, their best music. Who knows what they want to go to the king, to put them in that proper mood. Esther asked for nothing, the pasuk says. Why is the pasuk telling us to ask for nothing? Look, big Esther Dava. Because the pasuk wants to tell us she didn't want to do anything to help her win. At the end of the day, she wasn't making that move. Hashem was pulling the strings. And therefore, people get dressed up, they wear a mask. Why do they wear masks? The one answer is they're hiding their identity. You can't see who's behind the mask, but someone's there. So too, Hashem is behind the scenes, pulling the strings. I want to wish everyone a beautiful Purim, Purim Sameach, and all the best. And we'll see you back on. Take care, Ralph. Take care, Emmanuel. All the best. I'm hosting a lunch in my house at 12:15. Everybody's invited. All the best. Laura